Good, everybody. Welcome. As we have folks joining in here and logging in into Zoom, we will have a few announcements for you and we will go through a name call in just a moment. Good day. As I've mentioned, folks are joining us from all over the world today, some in Grand Pacifica and different parts of the world. I just want everybody, as you're logging in, to quickly update your Zoom if your Zoom is requesting an update. And while that is getting sorted for you, also find that taskbar in your Zoom, whether you're logging in on your mobile device or on a computer. Find that taskbar and look out for the question and answer tab. We'll be using that quite a bit today. But before we get started here, I will just work along with my team and see all of our attendees that are logging in. We do have some folks that have been logging in with their mobile device. Please go ahead if you're able to and change or rename yourself to your actual name, as we will be doing a roll call here in just a moment. I'm joining you all in Belize today, but happy to be talking to all of you on the line. So let's do a quick roll call and get this meeting started. We have Brad Schaff on the line, Chris Moshier, Craig, let's see here, Craig Pidham. We have Grant Montgomery, Manuel. We have Isabella Vergamini, Jeanette Cunningham, Jay Ling is on the line, Jonathan Weber, Michael Harrison, Morton Charnley, Sean Glacken, Tamara Chamberlain. Great to see you all on the line. We do have a mobile device, as I've mentioned. Please do go ahead and either find that Q&A section and let us know who you are, or rename yourself so that we know who you are. We have Susie Rose on the line, and I do see the mobile device changed their name. So I'm assuming that was you, Susie. All righty. So those are the folks that have joined us so far. We will probably have more folks joining us in just a bit here. And as they are joining in, Jailing, I will just notify you to get all of those persons sorted out. A few rules for today for the Grand Pacifica Masters Association 2022 Annual Owners Meeting. We are going to be using, as I mentioned, that Q&A section quite a bit today, so ensure that you are able to use that and type in all of the questions or comments that you have throughout our meeting. We do have a full day scheduled for you all, starting now up until 3:30 p.m. Local Nicaragua time, and we have a bunch of presentations going on. We do also have several polls that will be conducted throughout the day. And what you will see on your screen as we are doing these polls are quick multiple choice questions for you with answers that you can select. When those polls do pop up on the screen, we will ask you to simply click the answers that applies to you. We will be collecting all of those answers throughout the day and recording them and talking about them as the meeting goes on. We also have a quick lunch break at about 12:15 p.m. today, local Nicaragua time, for about 30 minutes. And we will, after that lunch break, conduct our afternoon session where we will be going over all of your questions and answering them accordingly. All righty, so if everybody is familiar with Zoom and have no concerns or questions so far, just note that there is also a raise your hand option. We are not using that today, so feel free as you're wanting to mention something and talk about something to go ahead and find that Q&A section and we will get you sorted out. Jailing, if you could on your end, simply continue to look at the folks that are joining in here on the line, reach out to me and we will get more folks logged in as they are coming online. Alrighty, let's get started. So we have a quick welcome video for you all. I will play that now, and then we will get started with our presentations for today. Alrighty, folks. I do have on the line with us our director of the Grand Pacifica Property Masters Association. I apologize. Joining us today, Pat Eunice. She will conduct her portion of the presentation now. So everybody, welcome Pat on the line.
Hi, everybody. Good morning and welcome. I don't know what happened to the video. Michael, what happened? Didn't play.
Oh, the video wasn't playing on your end?
No.
Let's try that one more time.
It's important.
It was playing on my end.
Okay, it didn't play on our end. Be patient, everybody. Let's try again. Nothing. No? Doesn't show, Michael.
Not sure what is happening there, folks, but we will play that video for you all in just a moment here and have that presented for you all.
We'll let Michael work out the techie stuff and we're going to go forward. I want to welcome everybody. This is a different meeting for all of us. I want to welcome all of you guys that are the trailblazers, the ones that have been through it all since 2004. And as Mike Cobb would always say, you are the pioneers. You guys took risks when there was nothing, and you're still with us. And then along the way, so many people came, so many people joined, people watched and waited. They waited for the road to be completed. All of you newbies, you never saw when you had to have an ox take your car out of the road between the main highway and Grand Pacifica because it was just a cow path. And when it rained and everybody got stuck. So those people watched and waited as Grand Pacifica kept saying, we're going to try and get it done. We're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. And guess what? It's done. So thank you for all of you. But right now, I really, really, really want to say welcome to these new people. It's important that we recognize the new people. Michael, all the people that are owners and maybe owners, welcome Mila, Michael, slide, next. Thank you. Huh? Michael, we have slides. Yeah, next, please.
Are you able to see the new slide now?
No.
Okay, let me go ahead and slide this over here. Okay.
Okay, as I said before, welcome back the old timers, San Diego Viejo, Milagro Verde, and Las Perlas Mombacho. The reason we go into this a little bit also is to make sure that you recognize that most of the data that we're going to be sending you today is relative to the operations for these three communities. Next, Michael. And now we want to welcome the new guys. Mila, Bella, Eva, Santa Barbara, Las Perlas, Mombacho. Did I spell that right? Yes. No. Welcome. Okay. And as years go by, your results will be more and more included with this presentation. Okay. We are hoping that what you will be seeing is about communities that may not be your community, but we're hoping that it will give you encouragement and underpin and your investment confidence in Grand Pacifica. Grand Pacifica is not going away. That's not to say that there's not tough times ahead, because there are always tough times when you try to develop in a country, a third world country. But guess what? Commitment of ECI, the corporate owner of GPR, is as strong today, in fact, stronger than it has ever been. It will be there. And because it was a vision of Michael Cobb and Joel Nagel, college roommates, that this property, this 2,400 acres of gorgeous real estate on the Pacific Ocean will succeed as a city of Grand Pacifica someday soon. Well, I think it's going to be a long time, but it will be a city. But I'm going to take a little bit of a detour this year. Many of you already know this, but many of the new people do not know about this. Michael's slide next, please. The GPMA was not a mistake. Grand Pacifica Master Association was planned from the very start. It was not an idle sort of an idea that kind of came along one year in 2010 or something. It was here in 2002, 2001, when the whole thing got started. They knew, those two gentlemen knew, they were forecasters for sure. They knew that Grand Pacifica was large enough that it had to be self-sustaining. And so as they wanted to start a community that could grow seriously into the city of Grand Pacifica. So what they did was they started the Grand Pacifica Master Association. Michael, next, please. The Grand Pacifica Master Association is not your HOA. It is not an HOA. Michael, next. It is a arm's length management company for the common area of Grand Pacifica Resort and the future city hall of Grand Pacifica. That is what it is. It is not an HOA. Michael, next, please. So here, this is what it looks like today. Not exactly the way it looks today, but the concept today. All these communities that you're seeing in this little graphic here go to support the common areas of Grand Pacifica. They are, in some cases, as in the case of San Diego Viejo, it also supports the infrastructure within San Diego Viejo and Mila. It supports the infrastructure of Las Perlas. The issues that come up that are important that they be solved and solved immediately are taken care of by Grand Pacifica Master Association. At this time, no, not yet. Michael, the communities, our new communities are not yet under the arm of, or under the umbrella, I guess you would say, of Grand Pacifica Master Association. I believe that at some time in the future they will be. But remember, we're not the HOA. We are the Common Area Management Company, and we are indeed an arm's length company of Grand Pacifica. So when people say, oh gosh, guess what? You're just Grand Pacifica. We are not Grand Pacifica. We operate independent of Grand Pacifica, but under the Grand Pacifica family. And that's important because there was a vision that has to be consistent from year to year to year to year. Michael, next. This shows how it will look sometime in the future. Really. This is, now look at what the picture looks like. Now there's a city of Grand Pacifica. There's single family residential, there's utilities, there's all these different kinds of uses. And they all grew out of GPMA. The idea, the concept all came from GPMA. So where the circle is, it says the city of Grand Pacifica, that was GPMA. At some point it will convert. Thank you. Mike, next. No, go back. You don't need to see me yet. That's my little speech on what we are, and I hope that helps you all understand where we are, and I have a job to do right away. Michael, were you able to show the video? Will the video work yet?
Yes, we can. Let me go back to that
Okay,
slide.
let's do our introductory video, guys.
Here we go.
All right. Oh, no sound. These guys are saying, I think you can all hear me. Oh, there's their names. They're all saying their names. These guys are saying, welcome to Grand Pacifica. And then at the very end, this last slide, it says, live from Grand Pacifica, it's your meeting. So sorry about the sound, but these guys had a lot of fun doing that for you. The guys in the red shirts are the maintenance crew, and the other guys are your security guys. So they had a lot of fun making that little video, and they laughed, and it was fun. Okay, let's move on.
We will go ahead and send the video to the folks that have joined us today, Pat, so that they have a copy of it with the audio.
Okay, great. All right, now it's my distinct honor to introduce you. Many of you already know, Mr. Michael Cobb is going to talk to you. You know, Michael's job over the years has changed so much. In the very beginning, he was chief, cook and bottle washer on the ground doing stuff, managing the property. It's himself at Grand Pacifica. He and his family lived in Nicaragua for many, many years. And this was their first property. This was ECI's first property. Fast forward today, Michael has, with ECI, has expanded tremendously the ECI family and the quality and the experience of the employees. And it's now looking like a very much what their dream was, and that was a Central American development company in many countries. So Michael, take it.
Wonderful, Pat. Thank you very much. I'm going to stay off video today. I'm having some bandwidth issues, so I want to make sure it doesn't clog up the bandwidth with the video. But really, this is another special time. You know, every year we do this, and you've led this, I think, for what, 16, 17 years, Pat? How many years have you been leading this effort?
Since 2004.
4, yeah. So what's that? 16 years, right? 16 years. And I really, first of all, want to thank you for, whatever, 16 years, I guess, 17 years this year, whatever, of incredible service to the property owners. You've given a lot of your time. You've been out of pocket on expenses many times. You have been an incredible force to keep this moving and keep it working in the right direction, and really help us build something that's a lot more sophisticated and a lot more comprehensive. Because you're right, when Joel and I started Grand Pacifica back in 2000, I moved to Nicaragua in 2002. We had some ideas about what we wanted it to be, and obviously we've come a long way over 22 years, and we're going to talk a little bit about that too. But you came in and you helped us really understand some of the sophistication that would be needed to really manage a property of this size. And I thank you for that. And I thank Vicki for all the work she's been doing. Giovanna is no longer with us, but a big thanks and shout out to her for many years of service as well. And then also Val Espinoza, the Grand Pacifica team, because this has been a joint effort. It's really been a group of people. It's been a team effort, an incredible team effort, actually, to do the kinds of things that we've done. And of course, nothing's perfect, and we haven't done it perfectly. But I hope that people absolutely see and believe with their own eyes the incredible improvements that have happened in 22 years. But really maybe in the last 5 or 6 years, some significant changes and some great strides forward. 2021 was a year of big strides forward as well, of course, with lots of new construction activity. And I think Val's going to talk more about that. But the thing that I always like to cover in this meeting especially is really the big picture. And Pat, you talked a little bit about the big picture, when it came to how the organization is structured and how it's going to be structured. You used the word city. I think that it will be a long time before we're a city, but I would absolutely contend that today we are a village, and a growing village at that. So some very exciting times. So let me start with the biggest picture, then we'll work down to a few specifics, and then I'll hand the meeting back over to you and to Val and the rest of the team there. I've been challenged a few times to write and speak on something that I truly believe is one of the most momentous occasions in human history. And it sounds really big, but I think we're all very fortunate, probably fortunate, we'll see, but I think we're fortunate to be living through something that is truly a paradigm shift of the highest magnitude. Because for the first time in human history, work and the location of work have been decoupled for many people, many people, right? I mean, when we were in agriculture, hunter-gatherer society, we had to be there to hunt and gather, right? When we became an agricultural, humanity became agricultural, we had to be there to work in the fields. And as we shifted, big shift, obviously in the 15, 16, 1700s, as we moved from a largely agricultural society to an industrial society, but people still had to be at the factory to do their job. And so this pairing of location and work was implicit in everything we did. And starting in the 1970s, a couple authors really on the front edge of some of this, Alvin Toffler wrote Future Shock, and I think it's Nesbitt wrote Megatrends. I mean, these guys were way out on the future, and they were starting to coin this concept. It was a word, post-industrial society. I think somebody else actually came up with that word, but they began to talk about this concept of post-industrial society, right? A society whereby people could work from home, and they didn't, they could work on their computers, and they didn't have to be physically present. And we were moving from industrial to something very different. And that was in the 70s. And really from the 70s through just last year, 2 years ago now, we still had a very industrial methodology for work, even though the technology was such that we could really work remotely. I mean, I was in the computer business starting in the mid 1980s. Most of my work was from a fax machine and a phone. I could have done it anywhere starting in the late 80s, early 90s. And certainly with the Zoom technology, GoToMeeting technology, which kind of preceded Zoom, even 5, 8, 10 years ago, we could do a lot more from anywhere. And it was just insane that people would get in their cars and they would drive an hour or two in traffic, depending on where you were, right, to go sit at their desk and what they could have done from home. And COVID, the reaction to COVID really drove this decoupling of work and the location of work for many, many people. And this is huge. I mean, this truly is as big as the shift from agricultural to industrial, industrial to post-industrial. And we are just absolutely scratching the surface of what this means to society, to and for society. And it's an exciting time. It certainly is an exciting time, but it's also a turbulent time, right? I mean, we're seeing what's happening with Bitcoin and El Salvador, the first country to pick up Bitcoin last September. The Central African Republic just made Bitcoin legal tender earlier this week. Panama is now passing regulatory paperwork and programs to probably accept Bitcoin as a legal tender in Panama. And so, these kinds of big transitional issues are affecting society. And we are just at the beginning of this. I mean, we're not even scraping the first layer off the onion. I think we're scraping the brown skin off the onion on this one. And over the next several decades, it will really become more and more apparent what these changes are to us as individuals and to all of us together as a society. And so in this context, what we really saw was an incredible group of people both, taking advantage of this remote work opportunity. Hey, I can work. My boss sent me home. I mean, I have to work from home now, right? So if home could be in Pittsburgh or LA or Milwaukee, wherever, home could be in Grand Pacifica. And a lot of people made the decision to make that change, make that move. And then also the other side of things was this incredible restriction of freedoms, whether it was mask mandates or vaccine passports or lockdowns, or in some cases, all of the above, right? All of those things had incredible impact on the freedoms of individuals. And people looked at that and said, a lot of people looked at that and said, hey, this is not for me. And so when you had this convergence of the ability to work from home, the permission to work from home, because in some ways that's what we were all waiting for, right? It was the permission to work from home from our bosses, with the restrictions of freedoms, the lockdowns, other things, people began to make decisions. And what we saw in 2020 and through 2021 was an incredible number of people taking advantage of this opportunity and or deciding that they wanted to be somewhere else for those reasons. And so our business grew dramatically. And Pat, I don't know where you came up with the idea that like we're going away. I mean, that like it's the exact opposite. Our business as a company grew fivefold since 2019. We definitely had some stumbles along the way. We were not ready for a fivefold growth in business. Patrick Ebert was our chief operating officer. He left us as of August or July 31st last year. We had a false start with a chief operating officer, and I stepped in as acting chief operating officer since last fall. So, I mean, we've done a great job. We've hired a whole slew of new folks at the senior management and vice president level. We will be recruiting for a new chief operating officer this summer, but our business is really going very, very well. And we now have the human resource capacity to facilitate, this type of business. So we're here to stay, and things are really, really going well for the company. And not just in Nicaragua, but I will say that the vast majority of our business, probably 60, 70%, say 2/3 of our new business as a company came at Grand Pacifica. And we're seeing that. And Val's got some exact numbers of how many new homes are under construction and things like that she'll be presenting a little bit later. But it's maybe 75, 80 homes that'll be completed this year, something like that. So again, we've seen a tremendous influx of folks who chose Grand Pacifica to be their, in many cases, full-time residents. Many people came ahead of their homes. And I will apologize. I mean, again, we did not have the capacity to take the business that came our way. It was a major rush of business. We stumbled, and we're recovering, and the homes are starting to come off the line. That the Ava tiny homes will be coming off the line next month in May, the first of them. So again, we're behind schedule, but we appreciate the fact that people had patience and wanted to be a part of our community. Came and lived at Grand Pacifica, are living at Grand Pacifica, are now our new neighbors waiting for their homes to complete. And that's very, very exciting. I want to take a few minutes and talk about community and some of the challenges, right? I mean, I love history. I read a lot of history, and I remembered, and I looked it up to be sure, but the Constitutional Convention in the United States, lasted for about 4 months, and they were trying to decide the future of a country, of course, and that's a big deal. But it was a clean slate, right? That they came along and they had roughly a clean slate. They had these colonies that had declared independence from England, but yet there was kind of a clean slate on how they were going to define what the relationship between these various colonies were, and what kinds of relationships between individuals, right? And it was a very rough debate. I think some fist fights occurred. I mean, it was, like it was civil sometimes, but sometimes it wasn't. But the product they produced truly was a great one. Some would argue that we've strayed too far from our roots, but at the time, certainly it was a great, great outcome. And it was only through this discourse and dialogue, right, that this could be created. Big ideas can only be brought into reality through true discourse. And Grand Pacifica is a big idea. 22 years ago, this was a cattle pasture. It was a former cotton plantation that had been totally deforested to a great extent. Much of the property had no trees. And you know, there was no electricity either. You know, all the way back out to kilometer 49, there was no electricity running down that road. You know, we ended up going all the way back to the substation at San Rafael so we could run a 3-phase power line to the property to ensure that the kind of power that we would want as a community is there. And now obviously a lot of the homes are solar. The technology in solar has come a long way in 22 years. And so there are other opportunities and options for people today, but those really weren't a consideration at the time. Pat, you mentioned the Grand Pacifica properties at the end of a very bad, muddy road. It was horrible. There were many times that couldn't be passed. And I, you know, I hold out incredible thanks to people like Liz and Andy Shabatai. I don't know, Denise Kent Payne, Juan Espinosa. I don't know if any of these folks are on the call or not. Rosa Marina and Jorge Javier Morales, you know, Joe Morrow. I mean, talk about some of these first property owners who really had to be pulled out by oxen or tractor on frequent occasions and sometimes couldn't even make it. And so, you know, the challenges early on were incredibly significant. And today we have a village, right? I mean, there's about 100 homes and condominiums out there, and we have another, whatever, 75, 80 coming online this year and more in the pipeline. But the thing to remember is that in addition to the physical infrastructure, right, the roads, the water, you know, the electric, the, you know, all of those things, the internet, and I'm going to talk about the internet in a few minutes. You know, you also have to have a social and economic infrastructure, right? Because if you have all this stuff, you know, how do you take care of it? Who pays for taking care of it, right? And who does the work of taking care of it? So this social and economic infrastructure must exist. And that's what I was alluding to at the beginning when I thanked Pat, because while I understood we needed social and economic infrastructure, I didn't really understand how to implement it. And Pat, you've been a tremendous resource and pioneer yourself in helping us to create something from the ground up. And so the other thing we have to remember, in addition to this, you know, this economic and social infrastructure, is that it has to be sustainable, right? It can't be a one-off. It's got to be something that's sustainable, and it can grow through time as the community grows. And just like you had these 13 colonies, right? We have different neighborhoods: San Diego Viejo, you know, Milagro, Casita Village, Mila, now Santa Barbara, Ava coming online. And other communities and the Bella community and other communities coming online. And so we have to have a social and economic infrastructure that easily allows the integration of these new neighborhoods and brings them into this whole, which is Grand Pacifica, right? So, you know, I've talked about how the, you know, the number of residents is the number of homes is pretty much going to double, but the number of full-time residents is going to double as well. And that's a great thing, right? It really is to have the number of people go from, you know, 50, 60 people to, you know, 100, 120 people, depending on the season, right? But to go from 50 to 100 full-time residents, this is tremendous, right? But it also presents challenges, because new people may be coming for different reasons, right? And so how do these new folks integrate into something that's already there, right? But how do the people who are already there integrate and allow some change to what Grand Pacifica is? Because nothing is ever static in this world, including a community, right? But the one thing I'm pretty sure of is that, and Pat again alluded to this, is that we all are adventurous souls. All of us have this incredible sense of adventure, because I can assure you that few, if any, people move to Nicaragua unless they are adventurous. And so this is certainly a pretty common characteristic that we all share. But I'd also like to throw in another one, that we probably also all share a desire to live in harmony with our neighbors. At least I hope we do, right? I mean, there are a few people out there who are only happy when they're unhappy. Right? There are some of those. They're not very many of them, right? But there are folks who seem to relish the discord. You know, for most of us, that's not really who we are. And we want to find ways to move ahead together. And we will. And we absolutely will. I want to assure everybody here, I've had some individual conversations and emails. I want to assure you that I have no desire to make Grand Pacifica a US style, highly regulated HOA community. Zero desire, none. I can assure you, not what I want, not what I would want to live in, and not what most of you would want to live in. I get that. So please, I want to make that statement very clearly right now, today. I will say that the semantics of the proposed rules and regulations was poor. It was. The semantics were poor. The intent, however, was to broadly define what most folks want in a community, right? And so, I understand that too many rules are a bad thing, but absolute freedom can be a bad thing too, right? Because in civil law, again, a lot of us come out of common law where intent is a big deal, right? What's the intent of this? In civil law, there is no such thing as intent. Please hear that. It's a very different legal system. If in civil law, when you own your property, you own your property and you can literally do anything you want on it. You can open up a 24-hour disco and play the loudest music 24 hours a day. You are allowed to do that. You can open up a pig farm and run them right up against your neighbor. And I don't know how many of you want either of those as your direct neighbor. I'm guessing that many of you don't. Okay. So absolute freedom, it's possible, but probably not desirable, right? A US style homeowners, highly regulated community, it's possible, but not what's wanted. And so what we're trying to figure out is what's in the middle. And not just what's in the middle, the more important thing, by the way, is how do we get to the middle, right? The guidelines were sent out as a suggestion of what we thought would be common sense and respectfulness of others, right? The true libertarian anarchist statement is that your right to swing your fist ends at my face. And you know what? For most people, really most people live in that sense of, I would call it golden rule, right? Or that sense of libertarianism or an anarchist statement, right? But we got to understand that there are people, just like there are some people who are only happy when they're unhappy or causing strife. There are other people who don't respect this and they don't respect your rights. Those are real people. They exist. And so again, in a civil law society, we had better have rules that govern that, or we have no recourse. And I would hope that we would, well, actually we do have recourse. It's called the Wild Wild West, right? I mean, true vigilante kind of justice or vigilante recourse is one scenario, right? But I don't think that's the best thing for our community. And I hope that most of you would agree that it's not either. So these guidelines really need to follow common sense and follow a sense of respectfulness. And I hope that we do all share that as the intent, right? The challenge is to define define this intent in ways that give us what we want, but not limiting our freedoms, right? Or some balance of those, right? Because it is a tough balance to achieve, right? And so the key is to develop ways to discuss the issues. This is important. We need to find ways to discuss the issues in a civil manner, right? I understand that free speech may not always be civil, and that's fine, right? But truly, how often is aggressive or excited speech constructive, right? Very rarely. Because if the goal is to find a better outcome, then the right forum and civil discourse is the key, right? If people want to vent, that's fine. Venting's important. I get it. It's release, right? But it's also smart to understand that for positive forward progress, we have to create and honor a forum that really honors, productive civil discourse. And the advisory committee is exactly what that is. And Jason, I want to thank you for stepping up a couple, 3 years ago, whenever that was, to help us form one. I want to thank all the members of the advisory committee for their productive discourse. And again, I mean, there's discussion and there's disagreement, and there should be, right? But it's done in a civil manner, and it's done in a way that really pushes forward the agenda of finding agreement and consensus. And that's really what we need to do as a community. And Jason and everybody on the advisory committee, I thank you all for doing that. And I know it's not easy. You know, I think I think somebody said this, it might've been you, Jason. I thought it was funny. You said probably the best solution to the challenges we're facing, like the proposed guidelines, is something that everyone dislikes a little bit. I think that's true. I think that the real compromise is going to be something that everybody dislikes a little bit, because compromise means giving up on something so that other folks, you know, give up, and we find that happy medium. You know, I kind of want to end on a couple points and just rattle through, you know, the big things, the great things that are going on at Grand Pacifica. Again, you know, we talk about things like the roads. We talk about, you know, well, I have a list. Let me just, I just came up with a little quick list, right? And I want to save the best for last. Okay. You know, the wastewater system is now nearly done, right? The last pump has been on order since the beginning of the year. 2/3 of San Diego Viejo system is now 100% operational. When the pump is delivered and installed, the rest of San Diego Viejo, Milagro Verde, and the Casita Village Mila will all be on the new wastewater system. I mean, this is a big deal. And again, we're working through the challenges of obtaining the kinds of, you know, the pump, in this case, the equipment, supply chain issues, but we're getting there, and we're staying on it, and we're getting it done. The road to Grand Pacifica is paved, right? But now the boulevard inside Grand Pacifica is 90-some% complete. And the last piece out by the gate will also be completed by the end of next month. So now, you know, the entire boulevard, bringing it in, it offers better dust control, right? That was always an issue at Casita Village. Was, you know, people coming by and the dust blowing. So with the boulevard paved, that's no longer an issue. And for the folks living in Casita Village, that's a big deal. And it cost, you know, it cost Grand Pacifica, you know, a significant amount of money to do it. But these are the important things, and I hope that we do remember them. You know, the speed bumps. I think people are speeding too much. Look, I understand there's some speed bumps placed where people didn't like them, and whatever, there were adjustments made, but some of the speed bumps do exactly what they're supposed to do and control the speed of folks on the property. 82 new homes. Val did tell me the number. 82 new homes coming online in 2022. So again, almost doubling the number of homes, but doubling the number of full-time residents, which means we're going to have new neighbors. We're going to have new friends, right? But we're also going to have new people we don't like so much too. Let's just be honest about that. Not everybody moving in is going to be someone you like or you want to spend time with, right? But they are neighbors. Whether they're your friends or not, they are your neighbors. Lorenzo, big shout out to you, man. Thanks for getting those tennis courts done. I think they're playing some football on it too, and it's just wonderful to have that done. And Kelly McInturf, you know, you did something that we've been talking about for a long time, which was get a grocery store at Grand Pacific, and I understand you built it just outside the gate, but you know what, that really is a grocery store for Grand Pacifica, and I thank you for doing that. I understand it's an economic thing. You did it because you wanted to do it and make some money from it, and I hope you're making a lot of money from it, because it was desperately needed, and I thank you for that. We've got new horse and bike trails throughout the property. Leslie Lawrence did a tremendous job of working with our folks there to get those. So if you enjoy riding mountain bikes or riding horses or hiking, there's some great trails throughout. Val and Juan put in some agricultural areas. I think we're still trying to work through some of the process to make sure this works smoothly for everybody. But we've got some agricultural areas in Mila and Ava. We've got an area set aside for an orchard. So again, for folks who want to do their own gardening or want to be part of a sustainable agricultural environment, these are real, they're there. And over the next, say month or two, we will figure out exactly what those systems are to, make it work so that everyone who wants to participate can, and again, in a way that is fair for everybody. Working with Grant on the design for a dog park and a playground and an adult exercise area. We've done a lot of work. He's done a lot of work. I'll say that he's done a lot of work in association with Thelma, Moises, and Val to come up with where it can be and what the designs look like. And it's certainly something that we're going to be pursuing this year as the year goes on, and hopefully be done by the end of this year to have some, if not all of it, in place. So, again, recreational areas that everybody can enjoy as part of the community. I also want to say that for the first time that I can remember, maybe not the first time ever, but the first time in a long time, we had no major fires on the property. And that comes from a couple of things. That comes from us, Grand Pacifica in this case, the homeowners, the GPMA investing in more equipment to do more mowing, to clear the fire breaks, to keep the grass in critical areas mowed a lot shorter. And again, the fires don't necessarily do much damage, but they do feel threatening. And I know that many people have experienced those. And for the first time in many, many years, we didn't have any. And then on something very, very serious, Andy brought to my attention that there were no drownings over Semana Santa. We hired the Nika Nadadores, Kelly McInturf, did a little fundraising effort to bring in a few more lifeguards for both what at Azochillo and other places, but also down in the San Diego community. Kelly, again, thank you. You're an incredible member of the community doing those kinds of things that make a real difference. I mean, again, no drownings, and every year people would drown, and so I was greatly heartened when Andy shared that news with me last week. So anyway, thanks to everybody who's working on that. And now I want to talk about the greatest thing that I think has really happened in the community, and that is that we actually have a true community. And it was never more evident than when David's boys were run over by the car, and the number of people who rallied to support not just David and Rachel and the family, but Chip too. Chip suffered horribly as a result of that. And you know what? I'm pretty sure that almost all lines of animosity were forgotten for a period of time when that need in the neighborhood was there. And that really is, in my mind, the absolute greatest thing that has happened. We've become a community, and when there are people in need, people rally around them. And I've just got to say that was a horrible event, obviously. But to see the folks in the community, coming to people's need was incredibly powerful and special. I just want to highlight a couple things for the agenda, and I'm going to hand it back off to Pat and Val. I want to mention that, over the years, there was a lot of pressure from many of the homeowners to formalize the Grand Pacifica Master Association. I resisted for many years, but I think last year or the year before last, it seemed like, really most folks wanted the formalization. I think there were some reasons that people wanted it that probably weren't the best reasons, but we did it. But I also want to just let everybody know that the formalization of the GPMA does have financial cost, and it can be a significant cost. But we responded, and we respected the wishes of the owners to do that. Again, we made the strongest case we could that it was probably not the best idea, but we did it. But there is cost, and it will be an ongoing cost forever. And it's not just the cost of the actual corporation. There are other costs that come along with it. But anyway, we are now a formal organization. I think Pat's going to talk a lot more about that. I also want to thank Pat and her team for 17 years, 16 years, I guess I had 17 written down, but 16 years of financial transparency. I see a lot of the stuff that flies around from, not all of it, but some of it from time to time. And one of the things that just really kind of irks me, and I hope it irks most of you as well, is when somebody brings up this idea of financial impropriety. Pat is an incredibly honest and transparent And we have 16 years of transparency in the financial accounting. She brings bank account statements to the meetings. She distributes those. She distributes all the financials down to the penny. And when she's off by, $4.62, she tells us that she's off by $4.62 or whatever it is. This is incredible. Pat, thank you for bringing this level of financial transparency to this organization. And we're going to continue to do it, of course. But I just want everyone to know that it's an open book policy. If anybody throws anybody under the bus for financial transparency, I would just ask that you step up and you say, you know what, I'd like to see the books before you take a side. I'd like to see the books. I'd like to see the bank statements. I'd like to see, all of it. And you can, because we've had an open book policy from day one, and it continues to this point. So Pat, thank you for doing such a tremendous job, not just you, but your team, for doing a tremendous job of being able to have that kind of transparency and offer that to our property owners. So then there's one other, what I would call big news. This is something, and I'm not gonna steal your thunder, Val. So Val's got some big news on something that's taken 6-7 years to get done. I know people have eye rolled. I've watched people eye roll at the physical meetings over the last 7 years when we talked about it. And so there goes Cobb again, talking about something that's never going to happen. I did watch eye rolls, but you know what? I don't really care about eye rolls. What I care about is, staying the course to the end. And Val, you and your team stayed the course to the end and suffered through a lot of bureaucratic red tape over the years to get something truly wonderful done. So you're going to tell us about that. The advisory committee, I believe, has a new email address. Jason's going to talk about that. So I hope everyone will take note. Again, the advisory committee, the forums there are the right place for all of us to contribute if what we want is constructive progress. If we just want to bitch and complain, you know what? Lots of forums for that. Have at it. But if you really want to be a part of the solution, be a part of the consensus, be a part of building this constitution for our village, which is what this is. This is the constitution for our village. You can be, and that forum is the advisory committee. So please take note of that and be in communication with Jason and the rest of the folks and be a part of the solution because we really have a special opportunity to do something truly wonderful. And I know that many of you are, and I appreciate that. Last thing I want to talk about is just a few things I'm working on. Yes, the internet has been bad and getting worse, apparently. I think there are some physical issues. We just had the folks from Wi-Fi Nick out this week. We've been hounding them for a while. We've been looking at different alternatives. I think we have the final solution, the best solution figured out, and we're going to be taking action and doing implementation in the very, very near future. I don't know what that is, but I've already given the go-ahead to get her done. So however long it takes, remember, supply chain issues, there is a reality involved in getting something done, but the money's in the bank and the order has been given to get her done. So, with that, we'll get it done as fast as we possibly can. Another thing that's been brought up a few times is the old Milagro condo building, the gray ghost, as I call it, the scar on the land. It is a scar on the land, and I have now met with the owners and trying to find ways to take that project in some direction, tear it down, start over. I don't know what it is, but I've the last 3 times I've been in the country, I've had meetings. They are in no hurry. There's no way to push a rope, but just know that it is a very conscious effort on my part and has been for about 18 months and will continue to be until there is some resolution on the old gray ghost. I also want to mention that we, as part of the Ava and Bella communities near the Azochillo Beach, we will be designing and building a beach club, food and beverage, and a pool area, palapa relaxation kind of area down there. So over the next few months, that's in the design work, and then probably get it under construction as the rainy season ends this year, maybe October, November, I guess. So anyway, so that's being worked on. And so there'll be another place for folks to enjoy more of a beach meal, casual meal at the beach, swimming pool and hang out. So that's coming. And then the last thing is also to mention that we have a new corporate social responsibility person, Gabriela Arguello. She's very, very experienced in corporate social responsibility stuff. She started her own foundation. She is Nicaraguan and lives in Managua. And one of the projects that I asked her to work on about, I guess, 2 months ago when she started, or 6 weeks ago, was to find a way to get our physical clinic, the building that we built, operational and sustainable. And I understand that that's a concern on the part of many residents, and it's also likewise been a concern of mine for many years. The key is not just to make it operational, but to make it sustainable. And I think that's the challenge. And so we've given her a directive. So if that's something that you're interested in helping with, to be a part of how we open the clinic, but more important, how we keep it open long-term, please get with Gabriella or get with Val, somebody, let them know, and we'll get the connections made, because having that clinic open and operational and sustainable is a big, big deal. So with that, I just want to thank everybody for being a part of this adventure. It's a grand adventure, sometimes up, sometimes down. That's how adventures are. But it is incredibly satisfying to see, what was 22 years ago, a cattle pasture, transforming into a village by the sea. And this really is just the beginning. More and more folks are choosing to live and work remotely. This is not a fad. This is a shift, a societal shift. And you all are the folks who are there now. You are the pioneers. And I just, I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for being pioneers. Some of you who came before the road was, before the road was anything. I mean, it was just a muddy track, right? I mean, you guys were more like, mountain men and women, right? You were really out on the front edge. Folks coming today are pioneers. I mean, you can get there on a paved road, and there are, the services. The next group of folks coming will be settlers. The people coming on the wagon trains, so to speak, and that's a different group of folks. But if you're there now, if you're part of this community, if you're part of this village at Grand Pacifica, you really have the opportunity to help define what this is. And again, working with the advisor committee and Jason and working in constructive and productive ways to define what this is today and define what it's going to be for the next several decades. That this is an incredible opportunity. And I hope that you'll take the chance to dig in and do your part and be a part of what we really hope and want it to be. And you can be a part of deciding on what that is as well. So thank you, everybody, for being a part of this wonderful community. And Pat, I'm going to hand it back to you and Val, or whoever's next.
Michael, thank you very much. You just are always interesting to listen to and fun to watch. I'm sorry that you couldn't see you, thank you for encouraging everybody and letting them know that Grand Pacifica and ECI really are hands-on on this beautiful, beautiful resort. I am now going to hand it back to Michael, who is the other Michael, who is going to kind of catch up on taking roll and giving you some information as to what happens next. Michael?
Awesome. Thank you, Pat. We're going to just do a quick roll call here once more for some folks that have recently joined the line. We have Tommy Dodson, who has joined us, Tina McDonald, Terry Caldwell. We do have Cindy Pinkston, who has joined us, Sean Blacken, Scott has joined us as well. And I think that is some of the new folks who are now on the line. But I do want to mention to you folks, if you are using the Q&A tab on your Zoom to write us any questions or concerns that you have. If you are appearing as anonymous attendee, we will not be able to address your questions and answer that in our session this afternoon. So do go ahead and ensure that you are entering your questions in the Q&A section with your name so that we can address that to you this afternoon when we have our Q&A section. We're going to do a quick set of polls here after every presenter comes on the line. We do appreciate your feedback so that we can, of course, improve and provide you with the information that you're looking for. But we are going to showcase a set of polls here in just a few. As the polls come online, please do go ahead and select the answers that best suit you so that we can gather your feedback and address those as we move on here. So with that being said, let me pull up the first poll here. Alrighty, this is for Mike Cobb's presentation just now. If you can go ahead with the poll here on the screen, select your answers, that would be greatly appreciated. We are going to cut this poll off in about the next 30 seconds here and gather your answers. Alrighty, I see a bunch of folks are already selecting here, just giving everybody a bit of a chance to select their answers. Thank you all for submitting. Perfect. Okay, I will go ahead and end this poll now, and we can share these results in a few. Perfect. So it seems about 50-50%. We are wanting folks are wanting to get some more updates. So that's great to see. And we are going to jump on into the second poll here. A lot of these polls, folks, are, of course, for our presentation and just to get your feedback on whether you were able to hear the presenter properly, how we can improve sometimes when it comes to technology, and just providing you with the accurate information that you're looking for. All right, this is for the audio. Everybody was able to hear you clearly, Mike, so that's good news. Let's share the results here on the screen for that. And one more poll here. Let's go ahead and 1 second here, folks. Alrighty. Last poll on the screen on the overall subject for the presentation. Okay, thank you everybody who participated in the polls here. As I've mentioned, we will have a poll that is at the end, or a set of polls that will be conducted at the end of every presentation. So thank you all for participating in that. I believe we are going to have about a 5-minute break here, Pat, before we jump on.
That's right. Everybody go get your coffee or do whatever else you want, and then we'll be back in about 5 minutes, okay? Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. We will be back in the next 5 minutes.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you very much. Now it is my honor and pleasure to introduce you to Miss Valerie Espinosa. Val is the Vice President of Operations for ECI. That means she is in charge of all the operations for all the communities that ECI has in all of the different countries. She can give you more information exactly what those countries are. It's a lot. And she is also the Vice President of Operations specifically for Grand Pacifica. She's going to give you a great understanding of what is going on from the Grand Pacifica side of things. And I'm excited that she's with us. Val is she's just a wonderful person. And she is one of the hardest workers I've ever seen. She is definitely an energizer bunny. So Val, it's yours.
Thank you, Pat. You have to mute yourself. Hello? No, just mute yourself. Sí, póngale sonido.
Okay, is that okay now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Val, we can hear you clearly now.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Pat, for that introduction. I see a lot of new names that have joined us in this meeting today. And that's really exciting. It's really exciting to see that the community is growing. I'll try to keep my updates of what has happened throughout 2021 at Grand Pacifica as light as possible, as fast as possible, so that we don't have to spend sitting too long in the meeting. But as always, I've said, like, if you have any questions, you can always contact me. I'm on the WhatsApp group for the Residents Forum, and I think everyone has my email address. If not, just put that on the Q&As, and this afternoon I can provide any further information or my contact information because you guys don't have that. My presentation will be just about the accomplishment throughout 2021. There are some that will still fall under 2022, just so that you know, since they, due to most of the, like Mike said, the chain supply issues that we're having, we have not been able to execute some of the projects that we still had in the pipeline through 2021 and will fall this year. We're going to provide also a legal aid about the horizontal property regime and what that means and what the next steps are. And also just let everyone know about the new communities at Grand Pacifica. Next slide, please. One of the biggest and most important things that we worked throughout the years inside the San Diego Viejo, Mila, Milagro Verde, Las Perlas, was the sewer system, the sewer treatment system plant. It was operating, we installed it back in 2018. We still had left, just to give an update of the history. The next stage was to put the line in and the pumps in so that everything will feed automatically to the system. Well, that was accomplished during 2021. But that was only phase one. Phase one, what does that mean? That means the station that is at Las Perlas Oceanfront Village to collect the sewer from the buildings and the houses nearby, which is the south side of San Diego Viejo. And then the other one that is nearby, A88, we call it A88, which is the southeast of San Diego Viejo. And then the next stage will be, and you can do the next slide, Michael. And the next phase will be on the north end of San Diego Viejo, which is where the Milagro del Mar old building is located. We have another pumping station there, but we have to build the next line. We have ordered the pumps, but we're still waiting on that portion to be completed and the pumps to deliver to the country. So you can see the pumps that are on the stations, on the sewer stations in the San Diego Viejo neighborhood, and that collects for Mila, Milagro Verde, and Las Perlas Oceanfront Village. So I just wanted to show you how they look inside, but now the system is live on that phase 1 section of the treatment system plant. Next slide, please. One other thing that some people don't even realize, some owners don't even know, the property Gran Pacifica is 1,350 manzanas, 2,500 acres. We are surrounded by rural areas, other farms, and most of our neighborhoods don't really pay as much attention as we do to their properties. So we, on an annual basis, just like Mike said, we deal with fires, wildfires that come to our property, even though they do not represent any harm to the neighborhoods or to the owners or residences. It's scary, and then they cause also a lot of damage, not just to the, not just emotionally, but also physically, because a lot of animals are killed by the fires, snakes, rabbits, anything wild on the forest. And this year, starting after the rainy season stopped, which is usually when the hunters start going inside our property, we hired 2 forest rangers, and they are protecting all the internal rural area of Gran Pacifica. In the first month that they were hired, I think we had over 12 groups of hunters that came through our property, and they were removed. The next month, we only had 2 or 3, if I remember correctly, and they were removed. After, on the 3rd month, and that will be February, we started to see a baby deer on property. And we decided we're gonna keep them full time throughout the year. We want to make sure that our forest can keep, our animals can keep coming, and they are safe inside our property. So just that, well, obviously we prevent the fires because there's no hunters inside our property. So there has not been fires inside Gran Pacifica this year, which is a big win. But also in the long term, the big thing for us is that we're going to have more animals inside our property. Our trees will be cared. I think that's a big plus, just thinking of how we will have our surroundings inside Gran Pacifica. Next slide, please. Some people always question, what do you do with the potable water system? The Nicaraguan government requires us to provide an annual report to them. In that annual report, you have to be doing tests to your system, doing samples of physical and chemical tests. And those are just required twice per year, every 6 months. We do 3 or 4 times per year those tests. All our tests have done and have come out with results that are with the quality required. And our team, we have teams that are covering the water system for 24/7. So we are doing more than it is required, because we believe that we need to keep the potable water system as safe as possible, as clean as possible, but also to keep all our reporting in a good way so that we don't have any issues. So I just wanted to put some pictures. We have to even check the level of the water well. I mean, there's a lot of back end work that we have to do just to make sure that everything is well. The same we have to do with the sewer system. This is the 2nd year that we're going to be presenting results to the government, but we have to do tests just to make sure that the water after being treated is as it's supposed to be, and it has. So we are very happy for that, but we will continue what we need to do in order to make sure that we're caring for the environment, we are fulfilling all the legal requirements, and that everything is well kept. So we have teams also that are doing 24/7 shifts for the sewer system treatment plant. And it's just part of our job, on a daily job from the operational standpoint. Next, Michael. We have the paving of the boulevard inside Gran Pacifica. which every time you do, I was mentioning that that yesterday to Pat. When you are coming with a Google map or with what's the other application that we use with Waze, it will call you like immediately when you're getting close to Gran Pacifica. It's called Avenida Gran Pacifica on the Waze maps, and that's what it is. It's Avenida Gran Pacifica. It's 100% paved. The last portion, just like Mike said previously, is going to be completed, I think, within the next 30 days. I'm already working with Kelly to get that done. So, and our goal in the long run is to have a better, nicer gate. But for now, we'll complete with the paving of the boulevard. Next slide, please, Michael. As part of that, obviously, we have so many providers. We have so many delivery trucks with all the construction that is going on. So speed has been a problem, and we are dealing with it. We're not ignoring it. So in this year, we installed speed reducers before the entrance of Mila and after the entrance of Mila, so that there's no accidents. We want to prevent any accidents from happening inside our neighborhoods. Next slide, please, Michael. Last year on July, we were able to complete the Momotombo building, which is part of the oceanfront, the Las Perlas Oceanfront Village. This condominium has 12 units and is considered like a hotel kind of setup. So it's a beautiful oceanfront hotel, and we will continue. Our goal is to continue with 8 more buildings inside that neighborhood. Next slide, please. So that you, I'm just going to be showing you pictures of how it looks, what it looks like for the people that have not been able to come to Gran Pacifica recently. Next slide. Next slide. That's the rooftop that you saw in the previous picture. So the goal for that rooftop is to have cocktails by sunset. We have not opened it yet. I think we need more volume of residents so that we can have that available. But that's a setup that we can use and in this building. Next slide, please. This is an interior picture of the interiors of the units, just so that you have an idea. Okay, so this was the project that Mike mentioned that was the idea of Mr. Lorenzo. I think most of the people that have come to Gran Pacifica know him, and he was a big tennis advocate, so that we built a grass tennis court at Gran Pacifica. Well, it was finally completed, and Kelly also helped us with the setting up of the layout and everything. There's still minor details that we have to do that will happen throughout the maintenance of it, but now we have benches surrounding the tennis court, and we also have benches surrounding the football. Next slide, please. And the football court is right next to the tennis court. And there's also benches over there. There's during the Holy Week, we had a few groups that came to play. It was encouraging. Some of our residents also have come to play. So it's really nice to have more amenities inside the neighborhood, and I think we will be having more. We also now are serving some fast food options at the golf clubhouse since the reopening. So you can see, I mean, you can have cold frappuccinos, snacks, drinks, hot dogs, sandwiches, tacos, pizzas. So we're still in the process, so your feedback is truly appreciated to improve and provide more options as we speak. Next slide, please. This is just a slide of regular activities that we have to do from the operations standpoint, from water leak repairs, the mowing plan for several areas, just for fire, not just for the fire prevention, but also just to keep the property as clean as possible. The maintenance of the teak plants. We also have sour orange, is that how you say that? Sour orange avocados. We also have to give maintenance to the water cistern that we have for the potable water system. We have to give maintenance to the generator for the potable water system. It's just a little bit of everything that we have to do on a monthly basis. Next slide, please. We also have installed some wayfinding, like on the one that you see at the top corner, signage, safety signage. There was something that happened that was really weird inside Gran Pacifica in the Azuchillo side. The current got really strong last year. I don't think in the 16 years that I've been working with Gran Pacifica, I had never seen that strong. So we had to install signs because we want to avoid anybody from drowning. We had a couple very, very scary incidents where some of our residents, Levi and Kent and some other owners stepped up and helped. So this is also why now we also have a permanent agreement with Nica Nadadores for covering the weekends, which is when people come that don't know the area, don't know the waves, don't know the ocean. So they come and they feel they can do it. So we have the Nica Nadadores team permanently on Saturdays and Sundays at Gran Pacifica. Next slide, please. We also built a new turtle sanctuary. The old one was very small and did not fit many nests. So we built this one, and now I think it's an awesome setup. We appreciate the help of the residents that also support this effort. They have been helping Alejandro. They have been letting us know when they find a nest. Liz is awesome with that. She's been always taking care and watching to make sure that we can get as many baby turtles inside the sanctuary. So, I mean, everyone's help and support is truly appreciated with that. Next slide, please, Michael. These are just regular activities that we do at the golf course. Next slide. And this is why we had not announced the TIC trails and the horseback riding trails that we are currently creating. The trails are done. We just have to improve some areas. And we are also working on the signage. Our team is working on the arrows, or working on the big signs, because we want to put cool names to some of the areas, like where we see deers, where we have a view of the entire property. We even built a small mirador, like a viewpoint on the top of a hill. It's not live yet because we have not put those signs, and we don't want people getting lost, but it's already there. Those trails are there, and this is the map so that everyone can see what we have done. Leslie and Raquel and Hans and Juan, they have been working on trying to set it up. The blue one that goes down to the ocean is the other road that goes to Azuchillo Beach. So that's an alternate route that you can take to go to the Azuchillo, straight to the beach, as you can see. Next slide, please, Michael. And now, the big news and the greatest news for so many years, just like Mike said, Pat also mentioned, we have been working on the horizontal property regime. And guess what? We last year started the process of registration of the HPR. Go to the next slide, please, Michael. You can see the map of what the entire property is, right? So what we did is that we are dividing it in phases. The phase one, well, so for the people that does not know what the master horizontal property regime is, and the goal was to organize the different neighborhoods and home sites inside Gran Pacifica. It also allows the Gran Pacifica Master Association to control and manage compliance of the policies within the horizontal property regime within the property. Also give legal mechanism to enforce the payments of the property owner fees used for the common areas and maintenance. Allows us to separate uses for proper zoning. Like Mike said, I don't think you want a discotheque right next to your home that will play and be going at 2 a.m. and with loud music and all of that. So those are like the reasons and the keys, that the tools that the HPR will provide to the Gran Pacifica Master Association. It will also assure the protections necessary to increase real estate asset values. Within the HPR, there will be policies and regulations that pertain to the individual communities as well as policies and regulations to pertain to Gran Pacifica as a whole. So it's a big thing for us because, like Mike said, in civil law, what you can do is like you own your property, you can do whatever you want with it. Our goal through the horizontal property regime is to have an organized set of policies that will help care for the different neighborhoods as we develop Gran Pacifica. Next slide, please, Michael. And these are the phases that I was talking to you earlier, like the phase one, what does that include? The registration includes San Diego Viejo, Mila, Milagro Verde, and the golf lots. The phase two includes, and the draft and everything is ready to just be submitted to registry after, to cadastry at this point. It will be Santa Barbara, Eva, Bella, Momotombo, Masaya, which are the existing oceanfront Las Perlas plants and everything, and the tea plantations. The home sites that are included in this phase one are only the ones that have not been sold or have not been detached from our original master title at Gran Pacifica. So any new titles that come and are done starting today, they will fall under the horizontal property regime. They will not be a simple title anymore. Next slide, please. So this is where everything started. We submitted on September all the plans. On October, we had a bunch of corrections. November through December, we submitted the horizontal regime deed. We got the plans returned a few times. We had a few meetings. Danielle did a great job of staying on top of the cadastry office in Nicaragua, and they said that to us. Nobody else have ever registered such a big title, such a big HPR. So we had challenges with that because it was the first time that they did this. So they worked with us very closely. We truly appreciate that. It took them time, but just to close, we have the great news that yesterday the master horizontal property regime was approved and registered. I think, Michael, you have that on this slide, and this was provided last night. So like on the slides, you can see that it says currently in process, but it has been completed. And this is really, really great news for us. Next slide, please, Michael. These are just some other services in case some people don't know what we do as Gran Pacifica, but not just as Gran Pacifica. We also have some other business units like the property management company, and we have the construction company where there's services that we can support and help the owners with. I mean, just some things that we do. Next slide, please. These are some of the results of our rental management business unit for some of the owners. The average occupancy, obviously in 2020 was pretty bad because of we were still in the COVID, like people scared, let's just call it status. And that's why we got such bad results. Then on 2021, we had 41%. Then our ADR in 2020 was $92.75. And then on 2022, $133.48. Just consider and know that this is a mix of one-bedroom condominiums to a home. So it's just an average in general. It's not detailed, but what type of unit we're renting. Next slide, please. Okay, so the next part of the presentation is the new communities that we have been working on within Gran Pacifica. I think we mentioned Eva in our last year presentation because we were in the early stages of designing and defining what the community would look like. At this point, the community is currently in construction. Bella was also in the design stage last year. I don't even think that we mentioned that one, but design has been completed and 11 homes are under construction. The total neighborhood size is 27 homes. In Mila, it was a rebranding of Casita Village. And the goal is to not sell just home sites. We do want to build community. We do want to have people living at Gran Pacifica. So our goal in this case was to sell home packages that will really build what we are today and what we will continue to grow into, which is a big community at Grand Pacifica. Like Mike said, different neighborhoods, different people, but more people living inside our communities. Next slide, please, Mike. I just wanted to share with you what the master plan is for Eva. It is surrounded by the Asuscio estuary, and it's a total of 100 homes. And then we have one home that will be and serve as our office, our front desk office, because we understand that many people buy, and they buy with the idea of coming to live at Grand Pacifica. And I believe at this point, we have had that feedback that about 30 to 35% maybe of the owners inside Eva will live in their houses. The rest of the people want to rent these properties and will come probably once or twice a year. So we will have our front desk office in front of the parking lot, which is the house 101. And currently is being used for our construction crew who are managing and taking care of all the construction there. At the north side, you can see that there's a palapa, and we're currently finalizing the designs of that clubhouse. Like it's gonna be a clubhouse for this community. The communal orchards and garden, we kind of adjust the location. We are having a lot of fruit trees in that section right next to the river, but then we're moving the orchards to the south of phase 2 of Eva. Next slide, please, Michael. These are some of the pictures. I think this is from December, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong though. Maybe it's February, don't know right now, but it's a picture of the phase 1 is on the first circle, and then the beginnings of the phase 2 is on the second circle. What you see on the right side of the screen is the Bella homes that were starting construction. No, it was actually March then, because we started Bella on March. Next slide, please, Michael. So these are some of the homes. You can see a summary. This neighborhood is off the grid, 100% solar. By the end of 2021, we had 68 Eva homes under construction. As of now, we have 72. The total of houses, like I mentioned before, is 101. It's 101 homes. The community has currently 4 models under construction: Alcon, Perico, Lora, and Macaw. And you can see those are similar but different. They just have different setup. And we estimate that 30% of the homeowners will live in this community. Next slide. These are I just put 2 of the models that have been built, just so that you have an idea. Next slide. And this is Bella, the neighborhood right across the street from Eva. This one has 27 homes. It's in 3 different pods. Each pod will have a pool that will serve that each pod, and that's kind of the description. They're gonna all be facing the ocean. Next slide, please, Michael. So as of today, 11 houses are under construction: Poseidon, Aquarius, and Apollo. Next slide, please, Michael. This is another view. Next slide. And these are some of the renderings. So that you see, these are not going to be 2-story homes. These are going to be only 1-story home. And they are beautiful. They're gonna be beautiful, beautiful homes. This is some pictures of the houses that are currently under construction at Mila, previously known as Casita Village. Like I said, 8 homes are under construction in this neighborhood. There are 2 models that have been promoted: El Dorado and Atlantis. Atlantis is a 1-story home. El Dorado is a 2-story home. And this also can be built inside San Diego Viejo. We actually have one that is currently being built and possibly delivered within a week inside San Diego Viejo, which is an Atlantis model, and it's looking beautiful. The clubhouse, we're currently waiting for the final construction drawings from the engineers for Mila. And it's going to be as per the original design that we had inside the park area of Mila. Next slide, please. We also, obviously, to be able to continue to build these homes, we had to put an electric, a transformer inside this community. And I think we have to also put another one that's gonna come up this year. Next one. This is the renderings of the clubhouse, of the Mila clubhouse, just so that you have an idea of how or what the layout will be. It's gonna be beautiful. And we're just at this point, like I said, waiting for the final drawings from the engineers. Next slide, please. And this is the Gran Pacifica team that up to close 2021, we gather as every year and celebrate that we are all together taking care of this community, making this community grow. So I think Pat said I'm smart, but I think I have a great team of people behind me. They really work really hard. They really care. And that's, I think, what makes a huge difference everywhere. There's one thing that I did not include on this presentation. I will be providing the financial information for Mila and for Santa Barbara, which are still falling under the Gran Pacifica umbrella. And those will be sent to the emails of the owners of each of the neighborhoods. So next slide, please, Michael. Thank you everyone for your time. You can always contact me if you need me. Thank you, and back to you, Pat or Michael, I'm not sure who.
Back to you. Val, thank you so much. I know that Val has. Okay. Please be patient with us. We're all learning how to do this. We're not regular webinar people. We don't, these are the operations people. We're not salespeople, so we're not as slick as they are. And meaning not slick in a bad way. We're just not as comfortable or as experienced doing these sorts of things. So please bear with us if we stumble every now and then. Val, thank you. She's sitting across the table from me right now, and I get to look right into her face and say, Val, thank you for an absolutely spectacular job you are doing on the site, and thank you for a wonderful presentation. I think everybody is much more educated about everything than they were before you talked. And thank you for putting the whole team together. It is important that you all know that although the employees may be separate companies, so to speak, or cost centers, or however you want to call them, this group of people work together. They always work together. If there's an emergency, everybody works. If there's a fire, everybody works. If there's a need, everybody works. And they easily cross lines because it's for the good of the property. And I think it's an employee spirit that is engendered by Gran Pacifica, that these people are part of what makes Gran Pacifica wonderful. And with that, it's now my honor to introduce you to Vicky Alvarez. Vicky has not yet been seen by you very much. You often talk to her though, or email with her regarding over the years regarding some of your issues. Vicky has stepped up to the plate and is working in as the property manager, I guess you would call her, on the site. And she's taking Giovanna's place at this time and is learning. She's learning and she's growing, as she told me the other day, growing quickly. So she's going to give you the report that you've seen in the last several years by Giovanna about the activities that go on at the site, specifically regarding maintenance and security. So how about it, Vicki? There you go.
Hello. Hello, guys. Thank you very much for being here. And I would like to tell you about our annual operations report. First, I want to tell you that in the maintenance area, we have, in the beginning of the year, we have 9 guys. Since May up to December, we have 8 staff. Next slide, please. I want to share with you, what do we do? We have mowing with mowers, right? And with whackers. You can see in this chart, the open area mowing is done by GPMA using 2 John Deere mowers, 1 John Deere tractor, and multiple with whackers in the small scale areas. When using a push mower and with whackers. This chart is in hours. As you can imagine, and you can think, the most of the mower is made during the rainy season. Even with that, we also keep the good looking of the areas during the dry season. You can say that the equipment that we use the most, it was the 997. Next slide, please. We also can see that this is for the main circle, also known as the rotunda. And you can have here that the activities we have is watering, weed control, bush trimming and landscaping, and chemicals applications. The watering is obviously used during the most of the dry season. And the months that we use the most watering activity was in April, because January, February, and March, there was very dry. It was very dry. We didn't have a lot of rain. Next slide, please. You can also have here the Central Park. You may ask him, where is the Central Park? That's the one right next to B82. It's where we have all this beautiful grandma money. And we have also, one of the activities we do the most in that area is the weed control. Many of these kind of grandma money is very susceptible for weeds, and we have to be watering almost every day. Next slide, please. And here you have the areas we do, right? We're cleaning, we also paint the boulevards, we also keep putting some chemicals, but it's pesticide and herbicide, but in a very low quantity as we need it only. Next slide, please. Here you may have a little bit of spider red, but it's the San Diego Viejo and Milagro Verde activities. We have the sidewalk maintenance, which is the highest number we work. We are always looking. You can always look the guys working on the sidewalks, repairing them when we have a very bad situation there with because it's very dangerous for people are walking and they can fall down. We also have trimming trees, the weed whacking lot age, and the street cleanings, which is almost every day. Next slide, please. The street cleaning is a continual occurrence. We have the leaves, thanks God, we have the shade, and we have to be cleaning this during summer. Sometimes it gets really, really bad, especially in the beginning of the year when we had too much rain and it's very dry. Next slide, please. I would try to keep and doing the best so the street looks clean. And our guys, they do the best they can, and I'm sure you can say they do it. Next slide, please. You also have in the activities, the curb repairs. What happened is the neem trees, the roots, they break the curbs and they break the sidewalks. So we had to be fixing them and repairing them. Next slide, please. And here are other pictures. You can see the weed whacking, lot H, the storm drains, cleaning and repairing, preparing concrete lead for storm drains. Next slide, please. Okay, I was telling you also one other activities we do is the weekly residential garden trash collection. And I really appreciate to all of them that keep their garden trash collected. Maybe it's not in a bag, but maybe in a sack or boxes. So it will be easier for our staff to put the garden trash together. I'm going to show you and talk about a little bit about the sidewalk in the next slides. Here we have all the activities we do. Multiple alleys are repaired due to poor conditions. We try to pull some dirt when there are very bad condition for the alleys, since they are not paved. So we had to improve a little bit, and that's what our staff tried to do. Next slide, please. And here you have the guys irrigating the main circle and the coconut trees in the Avenida Gran Pacifica. Next slide, please. We're pruning the trees or cutting down, especially when they are dead, so they cannot fall apart over any house or anybody else's head. And we're going to be having a small program to replacing all these trees with new ones. Next slide, please. Here you have other activities we do. We had the holidays. One of the biggest programs we have last year was the fire prevention program. We spent more than 2,000 hours from our staff to be supporting Gran Pacifica, because as I mentioned before, it was a very dry year. Next slide, please. We do also the line pole maintenance, including glove cleaning and bulb replacement. We start this program in 2019, and we try to keep it the best. Next slide, please. This was, I was mentioned to you, and Valeria also did. Every year, the entire team meets and develops a firefighting prevention plan for Gran Pacifica. It includes creating path and access area to remote areas that frequently burn. Next slide, please. This was about the sidewalk repairs program I told you before. We accomplished 965 meters, which is 3,166 feet. We use 4,391 bricks, 47.7 cement bags, and we use 15 cubic meters. And our staff works 1,666 hours. Next slide, please. So here our staff trying to keep the community looking great as always. They have to remove the old bricks, repair the area, cut their woods, pour cement, and put new bricks if the ones that were taken out are not broken. Next slide, please. We try to do this to the areas that are in really bad conditions, so it can be safe for the pedestrian to walk. Next slide, please. Last year, we gave a bigger support to Gran Pacifica, but they are doing really good. This last year, we only give saying certain hours of help for gate cleaning and gardening, but this was just in the beginning of the year. Then they have more employees and they have more equipment, so they can do it by themselves. And one of the areas we continue helping them, it was as you may know about the beehive removal from residentials. Next slide, please. Oh. So since I'm the bee lady, I have to be talking about the bees, right? So here you have it. This is just an example. We took these beehives from 2 houses. And I just want to show you that. Now I'm going to be talking to you about the security and safety. Next slide, please, for the other presentation. Okay. Okay, we're taking some time to look for the security and safety presentation.
1 second, folks. We're just getting that presentation up here.
There's just a little delay here as Michael finds the rest of her presentation. It was in 2 parts. So be patient, we'll find that. In the meantime, I just want to thank Vicki for all the work that she's done this year. This is a big step for her. And this is her very first public talking, so be patient with her. I think one of the things that I have seen really exceptional. I want to talk about these trees and the resultant issue with the sidewalks. That the trees are spectacular. They make major parts of Grand Pacific or San Diego Viejo what it is. The overarching neem trees, the heat and the sun are spectacular. It is a cost to maintain the sidewalks as a result. Trees weren't part, they are street trees. So they are like in what many of us know in various cities throughout the world, where people love the trees enough that they deal with the sidewalks. And so our choice is, get rid of the trees or deal with the sidewalks. So I know Mr. Cobb would like the trees eventually kind of eased out, but it's going to take many years. So in the meantime, we will deal with the sidewalks. We will keep them safe. There's a regular sidewalk program. It goes through all of Grand Pacifica. It's on a regular maintenance schedule. And, so if you have a sidewalk near your house that needs some work, or you're living there, or you see something, let us know. But we do have a regular program, and we coexist with these beautiful trees. And that's what it takes to live with nature. I also want to talk a little bit or address a little bit, because I know some people are quite sensitive about this, about the materials and chemicals that are used by Grand Pacifica and our Grand Pacifica Property Management Association. We do as much natural preserving as we can. We use as many of the fertilizers, and the locals call these chemicals. Everything is a chemical, but it's not what you think of as a chemical. They are preventatives, many of which are natural, green, and there's a big effort to maintain that. So I'm going to go back to Vicki now. She's she's ready to go, ready to rock and roll.
Okay, hi guys. Okay, let me show you the 2021 GPMA safety and security. Next slide, please. Okay, let me tell you about the security crew. We had 6 roving guards, 4 located in San Diego Viejo and 2 in Milan. We have our wonderful supervisor, is Walter. His responsibilities are meeting with the security guards, high level of communication with guards and property manager, nightly reports, improve the establish efficient security, and supervising the tax systems. In 2021, as I mentioned, we dismissed an employee. We have 4 routes for the guards. So the guards are marking and tagging many locations, so you know they're moving and they're checking. Their schedules is from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Next slide, please. The security guard responsibilities to patrol designated routes area to secure residential homes. All their supervised areas is Las Perlas area, North Beach, gate guards, unoccupied homes inspections. They inform about houses that they have their door or windows unlocked, or even some opens. When they notice something irregular in the home, like some lights on, and we know that nobody there, or there are some AC on, so we let the property owner know about the situation, or we let the company that rent their houses so they can go and check. We have a high communication with the property managers and property owners if they are not on site. Next slide, please. So how do they communicate? Each guard carries a radio with frequency and is connected to the EC, who is the security company, 24 hours. They are armed gate. And we have about the EC guards, we have 24 hours gate guards. And we have one armed gate at the North Beach. And also, he's not 24 hours, he's 12 hours. And then he goes to Las Perlas. Next slide, please. One of the events, the biggest events we had last year, it was the attempted robbery for the ATM in the beginning of the year. They broke into the front desk and they stole 2 laptops. We called the police. They were all these procedures followed by the police. Next slide, please. What equipment do they use and have? They have a riding bicycles, quality flashlights, radios, a check that reader, whistles. We're missing a T there, but they have it. They have a US standard police bike riders, uniforms and rain gear. As you can see that they use very nice uniforms and they have reflected lines so that you can see that at night. Next slide, please. We'll also be working with safety. As Valeria mentioned in the earlier, we have been working with Grand Pacifica, placing some brief current signs, water safety equipment. We were working with the traffic signs and the speed reducers because safety is equal to security. We appreciate if the most of the guests and visitors and residents in Grand Pacifica, they follow the traffic signs. Next slide, please. And here you can see our team, our security team, and they are very nice guys and they are very committed to their job. And I really thank you for supporting us.
Thank you, Vicki. Good job. You got through it. Congratulations. Take a breath. Before we bring Jason on, I would like to get back to Michael Fuller so he can catch up on the polls. Yes, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Michael, can you? We got to back up to Val and then do Vicki, if that's what you would advise at this point. And then Jason will do you. Okay, Jason comes next. And I know you're
absolutely.
So I'm going to click off and let Michael Fuller take over.
Thank you, Pat. We're going to do a quick set of polls for Valeria's presentation. If you're just joining us on the line, we are having polls for your feedback throughout the day for each presentation that we do, just to get your feedback on how's the audio, how is the presentation. This type of information helps us to improve the information that we're providing you with moving forward. Before I do put on the first set of polls, I do want to mention for all of the questions that are coming in on the Q&A section on your Zoom taskbar. We will be addressing those questions in our afternoon session. So do go ahead and continue to add in your questions there. So with that being said, I'm going to launch the poll for Val's updates. So on the screen, if you could just give us your feedback on the overall subject. If you have any feedback on there, it would be greatly appreciated. Alrighty, bunch of folks have answered here. So I'll go ahead and end this poll to share the results. There we have them on the screen for the updates. Thank you for everybody who voted. We'll go ahead here and add our second poll for Valeria's presentation. Here we go. This is more so for future meetings. What would you like to get more information on, or if you'd like to get information at all? Perfect. A lot of folks would also like to receive the updates as we are presenting them. So that's good to know. Thank you, everybody, for that. And one last poll here on the audio. Alrighty. Thank you again, everybody, for voting based on Valeria's presentation. And we will do that for one more round here, folks, for Vicky's presentation. Let me just get the first poll up on the screen. Okay, poll 1 is up for future meetings based on Victoria's presentation. Perfect. Thank you, folks, for sharing your answers. Again, we will be taking all of these pieces of information into consideration as we are doing our future meetings moving forward. One more poll here on the overall subject from Victoria's presentation. Alrighty. And the poll results are in. Thank you so much, everybody, for voting. We will do this for about 3 more times here as we are continuing the rest of the day for the balance of the presentation. So thank you all for participating. Back over to you, Pat.
Okay. Now it's my distinct honor to welcome Jason Taylor. Jason was elected to a community advisory committee called Community Advisory Committee about 2 years ago. The concept was brought forward by a bunch of property managers, property owners at one of our meetings. And it was not actually a new idea. I know they think it was a new idea, but the same concept was tried probably in about 2009, where people wanted to be a part of things. We tried to elect a group, but it wasn't as solidified as it is now. It was too early. People were too scattered around. There were not enough people living on site. People didn't know each other, so it didn't really work very well. But the concept has always been in Grand Pacifica's mind that there should be an advisory group for the GPMA. In fact, that is even written into the horizontal property regime. So you'll be happy to see a lot of things that people or you have asked for that are actually in the horizontal property regime. Jason and 6 other people were elected by the owners, the eligible owners who could vote, to this advisory committee 2 years ago. And he has done a wonderful job of keeping communication open between not just Grand Pacifica Master Association, but also Grand Pacifica. There's not real strong, like this is the square, it must stay in this little square. The goal of the association, and I will allow him to tell you more than me, but from our perspective, my perspective, it is to let people voice their opinion, and for the members, the elected board, to discuss those opinions and bring forth ideas that are constructive. The group has done an extraordinarily good job of thinking big, not just thinking what's good for my house or guys, the guy across the street, or what's good because I care about this. Maybe I don't care a thing about it, but they have looked big picture. And I'm just, that's exactly what we need. It can't be something that just focuses on what's good for one community. It has to be good for everybody, because that's what their goal is. And they have been welcomed with extraordinarily warm arms by Grand Pacifica and by GPMA. And I think the relationship has been quite good. These people, I have watched them. For many months, we didn't ever participate, but then as they needed more input about what was happening, we did start participating, but only as a watcher. They are the ones that made decisions. I watched them debate. So don't think that these people are rubber stamps to each other or to GPMA. They've done a great job. And Jason has been an extraordinary leader. Jason, take it. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Hopefully my internet holds and you guys can hear me through this. I've dropped a couple times during the meeting, but seems to be holding strong at the moment. And yeah, it was about 2 years ago that, just prior to the meeting 2 years ago, that a group of property owners kind of got together and were, wanting to fill a gap of communication. I believe is really what our thought was, is let's try to create more communication between the property owners, mainly I think the residents that were spending a lot of time here, and the GPMA and Grand Pacifica, to learn more, share ideas, that sort of thing, create more trust and community within everybody. And it was very much supported by Grand Pacifica right from the start. I think Mike really liked the idea, wanted to promote that community and involvement, and Grand Pacifica and GPMA have been very supportive throughout that process. And when the committee was elected in July of 2020, we went through a learning process, that this was new, and there had to be relationships developed, trust earned, and kind of come together as a team to be able to work together. And I think it took a little while to make that happen. I don't think, where do you start with that? It was a tough beginning, I think, but over the past year, I think we've grown much closer. We started meeting on a monthly basis. We were discussing issues that needed to be addressed immediately and issues that needed to be addressed for the long term. And, there was I think we created a solid foundation for the committee and the GPA to move forward with and continue to grow. And one of the items that we discussed a lot when we had those meetings was the rules of respect. And, we were presented with a set of rules that had been created years prior And thank goodness there was some kind of a basis to build on, so we spent a lot of time with GPMA in these meetings, occasionally with GP, amongst each other, and a lot of emails going back and forth and discussing the rules and how they could be implemented, how they could be best formatted for the property owners. And as the community is growing very rapidly, it seemed to be a more prevalent need to get this done and just have that out of the way and move forward. And let's see, there was we look at this as a version 1. It was released, and when you release a set of rules for a community like this, you're going to have some people that are happy that we have this, and there's finally something established that everybody can see and go by. And you're going to have people that are not happy with rules, and some of these rules touched a nerve with some people, and there was a lot of conversation. Most of it was very respectful conversation. Really, pretty much all of it, that I had with others was very respectful, and met with some property owners, and they had some really good ideas and brought those to the committee. And there's a lot to be discussed. And this is, like I said, version 1. We have set some time aside to meet with Mike Cobb. I think it was in June that we're going to be meeting to go over some possible changes for version 2, some rewording, some elimination, maybe some addition, this sort of thing. So I think it's a good start, and we look forward to making improvements on it. I don't think there's a set of rules that's ever going to make everybody happy, but we want to put out what's best for the community and what's best for the property owners. One of the rules I noticed right away that happened pretty quickly, and I was kind of surprised with the parking situation. There was a lot of concern about creating this parking areas in Grand Pacifica, and that it was going to be ugly. It was going to just take away from the community. But I can tell you, I was pleasantly surprised during the week of Semana Santa, driving through the community and not seeing cars parked all along the side of the road. These were very nicely done parking areas that were well utilized. I know I have a rental home as well, and my guess, we have a parking area on the lot, but a lot of times there'll be 2 or 3 cars parked at my house for a rental weekend, for instance. But we talked to the renter. We said, look, we have a location for 1 car. There's this parking area right over there. They were very happy to go park their other 2 cars in that area. And I think for people driving through our community on a holiday weekend like that, not to have to dodge cars in the road and see the sides of cars lined up in the street, they get to see the beautiful homes and landscape in Grand Pacifica. I think it worked out really well. I applaud Grand Pacifica for making that happen so quickly. So the first 2 years of the advisory committee is coming to an end. There's 2 seats that will be coming available for election this July. The 2 new members will begin a 3-year term on August 1st. And then each year there will be either 2 or 3 seats up for election. Sitting members can run for re-election when their term ends. As you know, there are new communities being developed at a rapid pace. As these communities are rolled into the Grand Pacifica Master Association family, we'll have more property owners who will be able to participate in these annual elections. And although the committee works toward the good of all of Grand Pacifica resort communities, and we encourage your input and suggestions, nominees and voting is limited to property owners in communities who currently contribute financially to the Grand Pacifica Master Association. And those are property owners in the communities of San Diego Viejo, Mila, which is the old Casita Village, Milagro Verde, Santa Barbara, and Las Perlas Mombacho building. So if you are a new owner in a developing community, we expect to have you on board in the near future as those communities come on board. And for those that are eligible, you'll be receiving an email from the GPMA asking for nominations of property owners in these communities that you feel would best represent you on the committee. Once the deadline is reached to submit nominees, the GPMA will contact each nominee to see if they would be willing to commit to a 3-year term on the committee. If so, they'll be asked to submit a brief bio. Then the list of nominees and their bios will be sent to each eligible property owner along with a link to SurveyMonkey. I assume we're going to use SurveyMonkey. That's what we used last time. That's where they will be able to cast their vote. There'll be 1 vote per property for the 2 nominees they would like to fill the 2 vacant seats. That's the same process we used to elect the original committee members that are serving currently. And the slide was showing there, showed all the committee members. And we showed that same slide last year, slideshow, but I know there's a lot of new property owners on the meeting here. So just wanted to put a face to the name for those of you that don't know the committee members. And I would also like you to know, as Mike mentioned, that we do now have a form of communication directly with property owners. We have an email address. It's a pretty easy email address, AC for advisory committee @grandpacifica.com. So feel free to reach out to us with any concerns that you have with the committee or any ideas you'd like us to consider and present to the GPMA. We'd love to hear your opinions and ideas, and definitely nice to have a community be able to reach out to us directly and discuss those things. I'd like to thank all my fellow committee members for the tremendous amount of time and energy they have spent working together to create this foundation of trust and respect that we have built with the GPMA and with Grand Pacifica. I'd also like to thank Patricia and Vicky and Giovanna when she was here from the GPMA for accepting the committee, opening up the lines of communication that we needed to develop this trust and respect for each other, and for considering our suggestions. I would like to will be coming vacant are that of Bud Shemin and Mike Nicholas. And those are going to be big seats to fill, but we certainly look forward to seeing who you elect to join us on August 1st. Thank you. Pass it back to Pat.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Great job. And it is true. There's quite a bit we mutually respect each other. And I'm going to tell you, 90% of what has been brought forward, 99%, I think Jason would agree, is exactly the way we think it should be too. So this is not an adversarial situation at all. And I hope we can keep doing it that way. Jason, is going to be up to you to make sure that we keep a positive, moving forward process so that we don't get bogged down in stuff that is not good for Grand Pacifica as a whole. And thank you for all you've done. Okay. Michael, you're up with the next, where are we? Poll on Jason. Then it's to our newest part of Grand Pacifica, Maria Gabriela. Okay, just one moment now while we get to Michael.
Again, folks, just a quick set of polls once more. So I'm going to launch poll number 1 for you to vote on based on Jason's presentation. Alrighty, here are the results for the overall presentation. Thank you all for voting. We have one more poll here for the future of this presentation. Here we go on the screen. Alrighty, thank you folks for voting, sharing the results of that as well. And again, just thanks to everybody who is participating on the polling here. Again, those pieces of feedback are really helpful for us so that we can provide you with the info that you're looking for. Pat, back off to you.
Thank you. Now, Miss Maria Gabriela Arguello, welcome to Grand Pacifica, brand new, with a huge job. You are, in my understanding, you are going to be developing the corporate responsibility procedures or policies for Grand Pacifica, not just Grand Pacifica, but for the whole ECI Corporation. Is that correct? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. You have a background that is incredible. Mike talked about it quite a bit, and wow, what you bring to us is amazing. And I am sure that 90% of the people who are listening to you now are extremely interested in the concept of the medical clinic. That is something that you know, Grand Pacifica built the clinic several years ago, and then the pandemic came and was unable to effectively staff it. It's located, if you don't know, new to Grand Pacifica, just outside the door to Grand Pacifica, and it was built there on purpose. It was not built within the gates of Grand Pacifica. That was so that it was also available to the community. And that is a major situation or policy, or I don't know what you, courtesy that Grand Pacifica has always given to its neighbors. When Mike talked, I just want to state one thing for these new people. When Mike talked about the electrical transmission from the transformer and so on and so forth, all the way to Grand Pacifica, those power lines went down that cow path, that cattle path. And all of a sudden, the families that had power, they never had power. All of a sudden, Grand Pacifica was getting these huge bills, and they couldn't figure out why. Well, all the little families along the line were tapping into the Grand Pacifica electrical line. Then the next, so over the years, agreements have been made. They, now they're all legal. But my goodness, Grand Pacifica didn't go and shut all that stuff off. It encouraged it. Well, it didn't encourage it, but it didn't, disconnect the community people. So that medical clinic is so important to not just us, but to them. So take it from here, okay? Thank you, and really welcome.
Thank you, Pat. Michael, is my screen up? Am I showing there? Yeah. I see Pat.
Yes, ma'am. Your video and your presentation is up.
Fabulous. Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Pat, thank you so much for the introduction and for the space this morning. I know I'm new. I'm literally, as you say, brand new. I just joined ECI about a little over a month ago. And I wanted to introduce myself to the community. I've met a couple of residents, but I know there are many new ones. So just sharing a little bit about myself and my background before we delve into the topic and what we will be developing as part of the initiatives of the company. So I am Nicaraguan, as you said. I'm Nicaraguan. I was born and raised here. I had the opportunity to live in the US for about 10 years. And specifically Massachusetts, I was able to develop projects and programs on behalf of the state. So worked with low-income communities for many years there. Transitioned then to international development and moved back to Nicaragua. I have worked as a consultant for international development organizations with education, health projects, community projects, women economic empowerment projects here in Nicaragua. And recently, as Mike mentioned, I founded my platform, which in essence seeks to foster relationships between organizations in Central America that uplift women with international organizations around the world. So in a nutshell, that it's a little bit about me. And so today, what I'd love to do is talk a little bit about what we've done in the past and what we seek to do in the future, 2022, 2023. And Michael, if we can get to the next slide. Fabulous, thank you. So even though I've been here a very, very short time, I have had the opportunity to sit with many property owners, shareholders, people within the group that have participated for many years since ECI Gran Pacifica's inception, probably 2005, 2006, and learning about what those efforts look like. And so what I have learned is that the community, that has been built over the years has enabled many owners to take part in initiatives in the surrounding communities of Gran Pacifica. These not only stay, if we can go to the next slide, please, Michael. And for the new ones that are just joining ACI, this is kind of a snapshot of pictures that have been shared with me with property owners too. So people that have lived in Gran Pacifica not only have gone out and volunteered and have been part of the schools, for example, nearby outside of properties, but have gone back to the States, have mobilized partners, have mobilized people, have gone to schools, have managed to get medical supplies, dental supplies, school supplies, and brought them back to Gran Pacifica's surrounding communities. And so what I think struck me the most when I was doing this, first interviews to get a gist of the works was that once you were at the property and you started meeting people that had been there for many years or not, or had recently moved, one of the things that they mentioned that kept coming up was we were able to build relationships amongst each other, and then from there try to figure out how we could do more, right? So these are some of the highlights from, I think, many years ago, and then recent pictures too that they've shared with me. Thank you, Michael. And so I know there's a clinic subject that we'll delve into it. But this is just to say, I think the importance, and I think for me personally, the power that residents have to make an impact, right? Because you are moving abroad, you are living in a community that is not your own, or you haven't grown up at necessarily, but living in an underdeveloped country, right? Offers this space, this responsibility that we have to us, right, to make our surroundings better, to make the world a better place. I think I would say now at the international level, I think investing and being part of organizations that are socially and environmentally responsible is not necessarily an option anymore, right? It's a given. People consider it to be an important part of the purpose, part of the things that are important, part of the values, that holds them together and in connection with our organization. So we're hoping to continue to build that at ECI. If we can, next slide. Awesome, thank you. So there are two things that I will briefly mention. These have been carried out in the past, but we're doing again this year. The first are the wheelchair donations. The wheelchair donations have been happening for many. The partnership that ECI has with Chair for Love, the Wheelchair Foundation, and the Rotary Club here in Managua, and all have different parts and responsibilities into making that happen and getting the wheelchairs to the beneficiaries in different communities and departments in Nicaragua. Chair for Love, for instance, raises money to buy the wheelchairs from the Wheelchair Foundations, which has another pool of funders. And then ECI coordinates and all the logistics and the imports of those wheelchairs to Nicaraguan beneficiaries in the different communities here. The Managua Tizcapa Rotary Club, in coordination with the Rotary clubs across the country, helps identify beneficiaries that can receive these wheelchairs. And so this year is no exception. With the COVID situation, I believe we didn't have one last year, but we are retaking it this year. And so we are in the midst of developing that agenda. We're hoping that this May, probably at the end of May, we'll have an estimated date of on when the wheelchairs will arrive. And the agenda includes the distribution of those wheelchairs, again, in the different communities across the country, and including the Villa del Carmen, Gran Pacifica. We'll probably, this is just tentative, but we'll probably host it at the clinic that has been there, that has been done there before, I believe. And you will have the opportunity to meet the donors, people that have participated as part of the programs. We will have an event at the Gran Pacifica site as well. That is the plan. But this is just to say the power there are in partnerships, the power that there is in mobilizing resources across different organizations, and ECI welcomes obviously all of those efforts to be able to contribute to the people that are in need. If we can go to the next, Michael. The Turtle Sanctuary. So the Turtle Sanctuary, I don't know how many of you know about this. I know Val already mentioned, and you already saw a picture, which is, it looks great. But the Turtle Sanctuary has been in place for some time. And so from the corporate social responsibility perspective, right, there are many poachers in the region. And so what we have done is we buy the nests from these poachers, and we bring them in, we put them in the sanctuary, and then the Gran Pacifica team manages the maintenance of it. And then once they're ready, we let them out. And so if we get to the next picture, Michael, you'll be able to see one of the releases. Actually, there was just one a couple of days ago. And so many residents have taken part in this for the last couple of years, I believe, too. So we're hoping to continue that. Those are two things. I think there are two highlights specifically in Gran Pacifica at the moment. I will say, and if we go to the next slide, Michael, that the role in I guess where I'm coming in all of this, and where the team also is coming in with all of this, and putting together the different initiatives that will fall within the corporate social responsibility department. So we are building a department. Throughout the years, there have been many humanitarian efforts that have been taken place, from water pumps to children's school supplies, to infrastructure donations at the medical center, to bring medical missions at the clinic to be able to serve the patients. So it's bringing within this department all these initiatives that have been taken in the past, but then really taking it to the next level, right? Formalizing it, institutionalizing the responsibility at the strategy level too of the organization. And part of that vision really is to also determine focus areas. If we go next to the next slide, Michael. So we'll start with the below, and then I'll go up above. So these focus areas, right? Infrastructure, health, education, environmental capacity building, humanitarian. What you've seen so far are humanitarian efforts. There are clearly efforts within the health area that where the clinic falls into. The education, I've recently met with schools in the area, and the need for like technological tools to be able to enhance education is on the table. The environmental area has huge opportunities. There are carbon credit proposals within teams have been started to being discussed in terms of capacity building. I think this is the big one for, I think, property owners too, because you've started, I believe, already, many of you taken from your own, right? Developing and wanting to develop people that work in your homes, right? Offering English classes, being able to give tools to staff, right? To be able to communicate better, to empower them. So we are looking to do that at an organizational level. And one of the things for me personally, coming in is working these areas, identifying with the team, right? As a team effort, prioritizing, not coming and doing all sorts and initiatives all around, but really making a focus, you know, of what is and a priority, the priority list based on obviously our needs. It starts with our workers. It starts with connecting that those needs, those family needs, and taking them obviously into the communities where they're from. What I have asked for and what we've started to do is identify where the where staff members communities are from. Carmen is the municipality is pretty big. So there are many communities. So being able to target those communities where our staff workers are, and so we can close the loop. Where are those workers from? How can we work with the schools? How can you work all aspects of it, right? So from the capacity building that you're getting at work to the nutrition that they're getting at home, to the education their children are getting. And so really bettering the quality of life of their families all around. That is a responsibility that as a development we have. And so we are looking to do that. And so if we look at the goals up above, I've established 4 here that I think are important. And the first being fostering corporate social responsibility values across the organization. The second being integrating corporate social responsibility into the organization's strategic planning process and building specific sustainable programs for our communities. Number 3, establishing a framework to help connect our stakeholders with community initiatives. And this brings you specifically in the picture as well, right? So facilitating those opportunities for you to be part of these initiatives, right? For you to not only send insights and provide feedback, but also be an active part, right, of the communities that you're living outside, right, outside of the resort. And then number 4, developing partnerships, leveraging resources and fostering collaborative opportunities, not just with organizations locally, but also internationally. The Wheelchair Foundation is, the wheelchair donation is an example of it, but it's really scaling those up as we get into the projects at the regional level too. And so the next slide, and my last slide, Michael. Fabulous. So these are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And so in this process, and this is just really in the beginning, right? So once setting the focus areas, identifying which areas and which specific initiatives are contributing to which goals, right? Which SDG. The SDGs were established back in 2015. They're the 2030 development goals that many partners across the world hope to achieve. These include international corporations, include private companies, include nonprofits, include civil society groups, private investors, all around, right? So as a company, the idea is to get the corporate social responsibility department to realign, right? Align the initiatives, align the programs, and really take this what has begun for many years to the next level, and you need to work with partners locally, regionally, and internationally to obviously contribute and make our communities thrive as a because about this in various occasions, and it's not really about how it looks, but it's really about a genuine intent to do good. And so we want to create sustainable programs that align with what is our responsibility to contribute to the world and to the community, the communities immediate communities that nations and our resorts and developments. So I think that is it, Michael. Next, I want to thank you all. And I want to open up the opportunity to send me any insights, any feedback is on the table, as Michael mentioned. The clinic is as we speak right now, and where that is at, we are in about a week or so meeting with somebody at the Ministry of Health to determine what the guidelines are and requirements are to get that up started. So that's where it's at. I'm hoping that through Pat's team, you'll be able to receive information and updates, and we will determine how long that will take. As Mike mentioned too, I think it's key to bringing obviously multiple ideas. There's obviously a resource mobilization that needs to take place for that sustainability to happen. But the first step right now we have taken, and so that is to get the requirements, the requirements, and to get it up and running. So yes, thank you for your time. It's a pleasure to have been in, because you've made clearly a lot of progress in the last year. And yeah, my communication channels and information, if Michael or the team can provide, so you can share any feedback, insights, are more than welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I know that everything you've said here is heart taken very closely by many of the people that have come here to Gran Pacifica, and they share the same commitment that Gran Pacifica has always had, and that's we share with our neighbors. We're visitors to the country, and we are respectful of the country. So I think that you will find a welcome home here, and probably a lot of calls. So I appreciate that and look forward to working with you many, many times. You know, there is an active Rotary Club it's a satellite Rotary Club at Gran Pacifica. So they're right there with you, and have done extraordinarily many, many charitable events for the community. So be aware of that. Thank you and welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you, Pat.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to switch back to Michael in Belize, who is going to give us the survey or the poll for you. And then we're going to talk about a lunch break. Okay, Michael, you're up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pat, and thanks, Maria, for that presentation just now. We're going to do one last poll here, folks, for Gabriella's presentation. So let's start off with the audio for that presentation there. If you could just select the answers there on that poll, that'd be very helpful. Righty, see a bunch of folks are answering. Perfect. Righty, everyone could hear you well. That's good to know. Next, for the presentation on our corporate social responsibility, let's launch that one on the overall subject to get your feedback there. And what we're going to do as we are following up with everybody at the end of today's presentation is provide you with contact details for folks like Gabriella. Alrighty, sharing the results of that. Thank you so much, everybody. And one last poll here on the future of this presentation. Perfect. Once again, thanks everybody for participating in these polls. We'll have about 1 or 2 more in our afternoon session, but we are going to go on a quick lunch break here for about the next 40 minutes. So let's reconvene at 12:15 local Nicaragua time or 2:15 p.m. Eastern, just as a different time zone for you to know when we'll meet up again. You do not need to log off from this presentation. We're going to just pause for the next 40 minutes here, and we will join you back again at 12:15 local Nicaragua time, 2:15 p.m. Eastern. Thank you, everybody, and see you in a bit.
(2021) really moved ahead big time. the everything that Mike, move the screen, please. Next. Okay, there we go. In this last year, we fully incorporated the management company in Nicaragua. We set up all, just as it says here, we did the incorporation in Nicaragua as we had promised the year before. We amended a Belize corporation, which allows us to now keep some funds or receive some funds not in Nicaragua, and they are taxable the minute they hit Nicaragua. So we have two ways of two different corporations, both named Grand Pacifica Master Association. This sets us up for the long run. Michael, next, please. We acquired a Nicaraguan bank account. It was an open bank account previously used by Cass Property Management. So we did not have to work so hard to open the account. It was efficient in terms of time, but we immediately, it was an empty account. It had $300 in it. That was it, which we paid back to Patrick Hebert. It came in the name of Cass. It took many months to get it changed to Grand Pacifica Master Association. And I want to tell you, during this whole process, the in-house attorney, Daniel, was helping us all the time, constant help, along with Jasmina, who is the chief accountant. So, I mean, we just had a ton of help so that we didn't step where we shouldn't step and create liabilities that we didn't need to have. We immediately set up QuickBooks. We have QuickBooks Pro online. It's an online account, and have moved Miss J-Ling Moreno into that position to manage those books, and she is just an absolute whiz. We're so lucky to have her. She was trained as an intern by Jasmina Urbina, the head accountant, the chief accountant for ECI, who sits at Grand Pacifica. And so she is Jasmina is the mentor to J-Ling, teaching her all the little last things she needs to know. So next slide. I don't know whether it takes, if the lack of slide moving is because of delays in the internet, or Michael, wake up.
The slide has moved, Pat, so I'm not sure what you're seeing on your end.
I need the next slide after. Oh, sorry. Okay. We during this last year, we also worked extensively and cooperatively with the advisory committee, which is what you've already heard. They were a great resource for us, and we use them often as feedback for what we were doing. We would let them know and ask for feedback. And during this whole time as well, we made sure that everybody who was on the GPMA team, mainly myself, Vicki, Giovanna, J-Ling, all were up to speed on the Nicaraguan legal requirements of corporations. For me, that was a mandatory situation. Everybody had to understand that what they did could have legal repercussions for the people, for the corporation. And I didn't want any mistakes, or tried to prevent as many as could happen. So with the help from Grand Pacifica, again, Daniel, the in-house attorney, even exterior attorneys were brought in to make sure that we were doing everything the way we were supposed to do it. And during this whole time, the pandemic was going on. So the on-site team was dealing with, you know, we had to get rid of the bus. The employees were, we had to, employee bus could no longer be used because they couldn't socially distance. The goal was to absolutely keep employees healthy and thereby keeping the people who were on site healthy. Just all kinds of activities, masks and gloves and so much alcohol and things for their, you know, hand washing, all of that stuff went into effect during this time where we were working furiously administratively, but also on site to keep everybody happy. Thank you. Next slide. So I just want to make a point that many of the property owners were just adamant that we had to incorporate. Mike referred to that initially above, previously in his talk. But you know, there were some real reasons to not do so, to just remain an unofficial, but still a distant arm's length management company from Grand Pacifica. But we listened and we did it. We incorporated, got a real accounting system. We've been criticized for not having a formalized accounting system that is in place. It required us actually to run books for the last 9 months. We have run 2 sets of books to make sure we got it all right. It was a kind of a really big transition, but we did it. And I got to thank the team of Vicky and Jay Ling and Giovanna for really, really working hard on that. I will tell you, I probably talked to them every single day about every single entry, and they pretty much felt like I was, you know, had my finger on everything. But you know what? We have to do this in language that you all understand. And all of the people that are members and owners in good standing from San Diego Viejo, Casidaville, I'm sorry, San Diego Viejo, Milagro, and Las Perlas, Mombacho, all received an email containing our full accounting records. Well, it's not every single part of the whole QuickBooks, but mostly. We do, as you know, some of you new community members are just rolling into this situation now. And when we take over or assume the management of your separate properties in full, we will be giving the same information for you. So, and Val mentioned this morning that she will be sending out some accounting information for Santa Barbara and Mila. These communities are all in transition. We can't bring projects or communities under the GPMA umbrella until such time as we know what we're bringing in. And at this point, we're not sure what we're bringing in. So it's just a transition. This will happen, but just be patient, okay? It's the same thing with the advisory committee. Things will evolve as they have to evolve. Okay, it's sort of like giving birth or something. Next slide, please. Despite all that we have done, I know there are 2 communities for sure, San Diego Viejo and Mila, who have asked us to do one more thing. And guess what it is? Next. Credit cards. Guess what, guys, ladies and gentlemen? if you are Santa Barbara, I'm sorry, a San Diego Viejo or a Mila. No, I'm sorry, I'm just screwing up here, right and left. Santa Barbara or what is wrong with me? San Diego Viejo or Milagro Verde property owners next year, Michael, this year, you can use a credit card to pay your POF fee. Yay! We're very excited about this. It is important for you to know that these use of credit cards is extraordinarily expensive in this country. The bank fee is 4%. We cannot pass that on to you. It is illegal for us to pass a credit card usage fee on to you. So we will not be charging 4% for you to use your credit card. Just thought I'd let you know. Michael, next, please. The invoices for this year's property owner fees will be coming out in the next month. You'll have 30 days to pay. And we will, of course, as always, give you the ways that you can pay that. You certainly can still pay cash locally by depositing in local banks. You can deposit a check in a local bank if you have a local check. You can use credit cards. Next, please. Okay, everybody always wants to know the numbers. All of you who are attending have these numbers already, but here's some information that you might like to know. Next, please. This is some basic information people often ask me about. So the community of San Diego Viejo has 204 lots. There, as of 1/1/21, January of 21, there were 169 lots sold. 171 were sold by the end of the year, but there were 2 lots that were recaptured by Gran Pacifica for whatever reason. That means that as of the end of the year, 72% of the lots at Gran Pacifica were sold. The gross potential property owner fee that could occur for if every single lot were sold is $367,000, basically $368,000 a year if every single lot were sold and every single person paid. The maximum billable, though, in 2021 before discounts was $317,700 for rounding purposes. But then there were some discounts given. So we backed in. This was the first year. I need to back up. Everything that we sell, I'm calling POF, property owner fees, a sellable item, is chargeable in Nicaragua with a 15% VAT tax, value added tax. They call it EVA. So your POF fees require a 15% tax by law. We have to charge 15%. So the first year that we had to charge that, which was 2021, we backed into the number to incorporate that 15% within the number. I'll tell you what the math is. It's that your account fee divided by 1.15, right? Divided by 1.15 gives you a reduced number that is equivalent to what it would be if the tax were not chargeable. So we did that in order to kind of transition into this new corporation. But then on top of that, we have to charge 15%. So now we're back to the normal fee that you would, in other words, if you had say your fee was $1,000, you divide it by 1.15, get a number, then you add 15%. Now you're back to the $1,000 again. I know you're probably lost, but that's how it works. So the total amount actually billed for San Diego Viejo in 2021 was $317,700. We collected 205.8. So that gave us a collection percentage of 65%. Not so great, but it is not inconsistent with what other numbers. We always are trying to do better. It was a very difficult year, just as it was the year before. In fact, it was the same, about that same number in 2020. So the goal is always, always, always to collect 100%. It's very difficult when you don't have a compulsory requirement. One of the things cured by a horizontal property regime. Next, we have the same information for you on the community of Milagro Verde. So if you're a Milagro owner, there are 14 units within 14 lots within Milagro Verde. All of them are sold, and we had a 93% collection rate on Milagro Verde. So that means that you can see the numbers. They contribute at their max $15,000 a year. That we will never be able to get more than $15,000 for their fees for Milagro. So their percentage is wonderful, 90%. So, and I'm sure the last little person who has not paid, we will collect that money. Move ahead, please. The last building, which we don't technically manage Las Perlas. Las Perlas has a condo owners association. They already have a horizontal property regime. They manage within themselves similar to an HOA, only as a condos association. So we bill, the GPMA bills on a similar percentage or similar cost per unit as the other buildings, but we bill the condo association. We do not bill the individual owners. We are told that 100% of the condo owners in this building are current. We do not have access to their records. We don't know. We are told that by their officers of their association. So they have 22 units. The maximum they will ever have to pay is $13,200 into the master association. So that's, now let's get to the last one, which is kind of a combination of the three, and it gets you to the down and dirty. Okay. We began the year with $308,027 in our bank account. That was that 300 I mentioned that was in the bank account when we opened the bank account. And we ended the year with $546,036.04 in the bank as of 12/31/21. That's it, folks. Okay. Thank you very much. That's your whole down and dirty, quick review of the financials. Again, the people who participate actively in this management thing got all financials. Our records for the members of GPMA that are active are open all the time. We just ask that you make an appointment. And you are welcome, welcome, welcome to see what it is. I will see the numbers, the receipts, the checks, everything. We want to thank you very, very, very much for attending this property owners meeting. And we're just grateful for your time. It's a big chunk of time, and I know that. So what we're going to do now is formally close the meeting. Well, no, we're going to do a poll on me. Okay, Michael, we'll do a poll on me. Then we will close the meeting. That's the official meeting. We'll close it. We'll signify the time that we close it at. And then we will open the afternoon session. Okay?
That is correct,
Michael,
ma'am.
you're on.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Pat. One last poll here, folks, before we wrap up this session. Let's just go ahead here and pull up those. So overall presentation just now, if you could go ahead with the poll on the screen and select your answers there, that would be much appreciated. All right. Those are the results for the first poll. We have two more here. Let me just pull these up quickly for you. The future of this meeting when we reconvene again in 2023. All righty. As you can see, the results are on the screen there. And one last item here. Let me just pull this up on the audio for today's meeting. Right, perfect. Thank you all for your feedback. Pat, I believe we will come back on in just a moment here for the afternoon session. Any final words from you, ma'am?
Again, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for participating. Thanks for your time. And I will now officially close this meeting at, I have 12:40 p.m. Saturday, April the 30th, 2022. Thank you very much for coming. That ends our meeting of the Grand Pacifica Master Association. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, folks. We will be now breaking for our afternoon session. Folks that are participating in that, no need to log off. We will be doing our Q&A session in just a few here. Pat, do we want to give a break of about 5 minutes to reconvene?
Sounds like a good idea.
All righty, thanks, folks.